Nicola and Dr. Vishwanath in June 2020 during lockdown. Since then, TFO has had uninterrupted discussions on films from all over the world every Saturday at 9 p.m. on Zoom. It is a group of film scholars, researchers, students, teachers, and anyone passionate about cinema. It has been our practice to invite people to select and lead the discussion of the chosen film, which we watch in our own time and place. On some occasions, filmmakers, editors, and cinematographers have also joined our sessions. Aparna Sen, Amol Palekar, Girish Kasravalli, and Adur Gopalkrishnan, to name a few. We have held film festivals such as East European, Iranian, Women's Cinema, and others. In the month of June each year, to celebrate our anniversary, we hold a smartphone short filmmaking contest for students and a lecture series in various university departments. In September 2024, we held our first offline event, an international seminar on Indian cinema in the digital era, continuities and discontinuities, in collaboration with the Forum on Contemporary Theory FCT, Baroda. I also take the privilege of introducing today's discussant. Today, we are going to discuss the film Heretic that came out in 2024. The film was suggested by Mouparna Roy. She is an assistant professor at SGT University in the Department of Liberal Studies and Social Sciences. She completed her PhD in Media Studies from Jawaharlal Nehru University, exploring intersections of orality, media, and cultural narratives. She is passionate about critical thinking and sociological discourse. Now I request Mouparna Roy to initiate the discussion.
Okay. Hello, everyone. So I'm Mouparna, as ma'am introduced me, and I'm actually quite thrilled today to discuss Heretics. And it is a psychological horror film that leaves the audience quite unsettled, not just because it's eerie or like the atmosphere is created in a way which would make us feel that discomfort, but it also questions the faith, the control, the power of persuasion. And it is directed by Scott Beck and Brian Wood, and they are known for their gripping storytelling and featuring, like this film features Hugh Grant, uh, and his role is quite like enigmatic in this film. And given how horror has always been a very powerful medium for exploring themes like social anxiety, Heretic here also is no exception. So it is like it does use the classic horror setup, like a confined space or a mysterious antagonist and like vulnerable protagonist, to tell us a much more deeper story about religious control, about gender oppression, and the power of belief as both a weapon as well as a prison. So, at its core, Heretic is not just about fear of supernatural, but it is about the horror of belief itself, how belief can be manipulated, how it can imprison people, and how it can, in some cases, be our only source of hope. So, at first glance, this film is about these two young missionaries, Sister Paxton and Sister Barnes, who find themselves in this home of Mr. Reed, which is being played by Hugh Grant, a very seemingly polite person, but he slowly reveals his sinister intentions. And beneath the surface, it is a critique of, according to me, it is a critique of patriarchal religious structure and how they have historically silenced and controlled and persecuted women, who dare to ask the questions, who dare to ask question to the authority even. And today I want to focus on these themes of the role of religion as a tool of power, the gender dynamics of control, and the idea of the heretic as a woman like who refuses to conform. So let's start with the narrative. So I'll just give a brief summary that the story does follow two young, very young female missionaries, Sister Paxton and Sister Barnes, who goes door to door spreading their faith. So they both belong to this Mormon faith, and Sister Paxton is quite new at it. We see that how the film wastes no time in establishing their personalities from the very beginning. Okay, where Paxton is kind of skeptical. She's the hesitant one. Barnes is the one who is very idealistic. She is truly a believer in their own mission. Okay, and then like through some incidents, they also show it. Like in the very beginning, they talk about their brother-in-law's sex tape which they watched, right? And we see the hesitance in which they talk about it, or we even see the incident where Barnes was being kind of bullied by the other students, and Paxton was the one who was kind of supported towards her, and she wanted her to get her first baptism done. So then they knock at this person's door, Mr. Reed, an older man who initially seems harmless, very welcoming. Like when they converse, he asks them very politely to come inside and ensures that his wife is inside and they can just come and feel comfortable. But gradually, very soon, we see the power dynamic shift. So these girls who enter, and they are the one expecting to convert Mr. Reed, right? But then they themselves found themselves to be trapped in his world instead. So the setting quickly transformed from a casual meeting into a eerie, high stakes psychological game. And that's where the brilliance of Heretic lies, as like it turns a very seemingly normal situation into a slow burn nightmare. So I'll give examples of certain scenes and how cinematically it made us feel uncomfortable. Like one of the most effective moments very early on in the film was when the door shut behind those girls. So it's not like it slammed, it was not locked immediately, it just closed, right? But it is a very small detail, seemingly quite insignificant moment, but the way it was closed, we as an audience can feel the wave of tension there. Okay, so this is a masterful use of psychological horror. Like there is no jump scare, no violence, just the realization that these girls are no more in control. S- Now, coming to other symbolisms, like a great film, horror film, does not scare you with what you see, it unsettles you with what it suggests. And Heretic uses a number of symbols to reinforce this, its deeper themes. Like the house in itself had been presented as this psychological prison. Like one of the girls enters Mr. Reed's house, like, and it becomes quite evident that this is more than just a physical space. It is a psychological trap. Like you can see the windows, they are covered. So it keeps them isolated from the outside, outside world. Then the layout in itself is quite disorienting. With the rooms that seem sometimes longer or smaller than expected, creating a sense of unease among the audience as well as the characters. Then, first, the warm welcoming, okay, like then we see like inviting lightning, uh, like there was inviting lighting at first when they entered the house, the room, but then gradually it gives away to a flickering lamp and the eerie shadows, signaling the shift from comfort to danger. This also reflects how indoctrination and manipulation work in real life first. Like the environment is made to feel welcoming at first, then control is subtly exerted until escape becomes impossible. Then we also see this like inverted cross. Right. So in the film, we do see a lot of religious imagery which are being twisted or subverted. So this crucifix also we see that was like flipped upside down, an obvious sign of something being wrong, right? Like certain Bible quotes or the verses were being quoted, but the words were being altered, like changing their meaning slightly to fit what Mr. Reed's uh, belief or philosophy is being reflected through it. So at one point, we see that Mr. Reed forces the girls to kneel, mimicking a prayer, but actually, it is asserting dominance over them. And this also suggests that belief, when manipulated, can be used as a tool of control rather than salvation. Silence here has also been used as a weapon, right? Like one of the most terrifying scenes in is when Mr. Reed simply just stares at the girls without speaking, and the silence stretches uncomfortably, like long, and the absence of dialogue makes it even more tense, unbearable. Okay, later in the film, one of the girls even tries to scream, but we cannot hear the sound coming out, and this could also symbolize how victims of manipulation or coercion often feel unheard or powerless. Now, coming to the gender power struggle, like male dominance, the entire film is built on an imbalance of power, not just in terms of physical strength, but in terms of how authority is performed and enforced. Here we see Mr. Reed being put in a position almost as a god figure. Like from the moment Mr. Reed invites these young girls, he positions himself as a figure of higher knowledge and power. He's older, which immediately, of course, places him in a position of, like, perceived wisdom. He speak in a calm, very measured tone, never raising his voice, which makes him seem rational. And even as he manipulates them, we see that, yeah, maybe he's rational. As an audience also, we sometimes like feel that, okay, the the things that he's telling about, the philosophy that he's discussing or trying to impose on these girls, they do make sense at some point. So his home itself is his domain here, where he is the one who makes the rules, just as any other religious institution does, like has historically been. Like generally, the religious institutions have been governed by men who dictate how faith is practiced. And here, in many ways, we see Mr. Reed functioning as a godlike patriarch, deciding what is true, what is false, what is righteous, what is sin. The missionaries enters his room as a believer, but in the end, they are his captives, both physically and psychologically. Uh, so Sister Paxton and Barnes, they are not just some individual characters. They represent women who have been raised to serve, obey, and spread the word of the system that ultimately does not protect them. Like you see them, even their dressing sense, they dress very modestly, adhering to a very traditional setup like that has long dictated women's appearance in religious space. They speak softly, uh, showing that they have been trained to be polite, even in a situation that feels dangerous. They follow rules without any question, like a pattern ingrained in them through their religion or their upbringing. But the real horror of the movie is watching them realize that their faith does not save them here. It makes them even more vulnerable. Like in one of the most chilling moments in the film, when Mr. Reed forces the like he forces them to believe that whatever they are believing or whatever their philosophy is, it is completely flawed or it is borrowed by other religions. He give examples of different other religions here, which makes them question their own belief. Right. It also at times mirrors the real world historical and contemporary religious structure, which he was talking about, that how some religions have borrowed a certain idea or certain story and have incorporated it in their own mythology. He also compared it with a game, the religion itself, like Monopoly and different versions of Monopoly, how Christianity was formed, or how Islam borrowed certain parts of it, and so on. At some points, uh, the you can see Sister Paxton or Sister Barnes actually questioning their faith in these moments, right? Now, here we see he also quotes such certain scriptures, but at times like even as an audience, I felt that it was out of context. Like it is just being used at times to justify his actions, just as any other religious texts do, right? Like they have often been very selective, interpreting their quotes or their verses just to control women or control people around them. He also forces Sister Barnes to repeat a prayer after him. Strip. So, in this particular moment, he is stripping her of her agency, just as any other religious indoctrination, like how often it works by repeating or the repetition and reinforcement rather than the true belief of that particular religion. So, we see that when these girls resist, he accuses them of being lost or being corrupt. A very tactic use, like which has been again throughout the history, has been used to discredit not only women but anyone who challenges authority. So this also mirrors the way women are being labeled heretics or witches, where like often women who simply refuses to comply to this male dominated religious structure. So here the idea of faith versus debate, like doubt, also comes. Like one of the biggest questions of this film is like what actually happens when your faith is being tested in ways you never expected. So when Sister Ban enters this house like with complete confidence in her belief, but as Mr. Reed challenges her with like these unsettling philosophical questions, her certainty also starts to waver. Sister Paxton here, was already questioning her faith, now wonders even more, like if like doubt is a sign of weakness or is it a sign of clarity, right? And then we see the power and manipulation of Mr. Reed as well. Like Mr. Reed is quite terrifying, not because of any like physical violence, which he does not do at all in the right in the beginning of the movie, but because how he controls the entire conversation. Like he never yells at these women, but the way he speaks force the girls to second guess themselves. Like he uh questions in a way that seems to be very reasonable at first, but slowly it also break down their confidence. He isolates them from each other, like try to turn them against each other. And this is a very classic example of how psychological manipulation work. Like you can see it can be similar to even the leaders or the like authoritarian figures and how they gain control over people. Uh, Coming to the point of gender, so the movie, like here, it is no accident that the directors like chose the victims to be two young women and the antagonist to be this older man in a position of intellectual authority. So the film also taps into this historical fear of patriarchal control, where men have dictated what women should believe and how they should behave. And it also refers the history of religious persecution against women, the reminiscence of witch trial, where those who question authority were deemed as heretic or witches. And the title heretic isn't about religious dissent; it is about anyone who dares to ask question to the ones in power. So now, I think the final, you know, message of this movie was like how like the women are still being controlled by religious institutions, or that deny them any leadership role, restrict their rights and dictate their bodies. And the language of indoctrination and submission is still present in many cultures, telling women to be obedient, quiet and faithful, just like Sister Paxton or Sister Barnes were raised to believe. And then this figure, Mr. Reed, exists beyond the movie screens, where these religious leaders or these religious extremists or even everyday man who uses belief as a mean of control. Uh, so the major question that comes into my mind or as an audience is like, how many women throughout history have knocked on the wrong door only to realize like it was too late, that their faith made them really vulnerable and not safe. So it's not just a movie. Like it's like a warning to us. So some of the elements of heretics in the end would be that how this movie uses the horror elements to reflect the real life fear, like the fear of losing control over your own belief, or the fear of being manipulated without realizing it, the fear of trusting someone only to discover their true intentions too late. And by the end of the film, we are left quite unsettled and uncertain, just like the protagonist. But perhaps that is the point, because in a world where belief, persuasion, and control constantly shapes our lives, heretics a heretic reminds us of an unsettling truth, that sometimes the most dangerous people aren't the ones who forces you to believe something. They are the ones who makes you doubt yourself, which in the entire movie Mr. Reed tries to do with these girls. He continuously tries to make them doubt not only their beliefs but also each other. Like if you remember in of the one of the scenes where he is showing them this messiah who came back to life, and then the messiah says something about it's not real. uh, he tries to uh, plant this seed of doubt in one of the missionaries mind, that what she meant, that maybe it's a simulation, maybe it's not real at all, maybe we are living in a world which is not real, and we'll just wake up and then like once we kill each other and then we'll find out what is true, what is not. So he's constantly asking them to question themselves, doubt themselves, and to some extent he's very much successful as well. But gradually we see that Barnes, uh, even though she was the one who was being shown as this naive girl in the beginning. And one thing, like while watching this movie, I was watching it with one of my friends, and she like pointed it out, like, you know, yes, maybe sometimes we don't need to do, or we don't, like as women, we don't need to be always be presented or as someone very much empowered or someone who knows everything. And here, that is one of the major parts of the movie that really made sense, which made it more relatable. that Barnes was really naive, and yet she tried to understand everything from her perspective. She said it in one of the scenes, maybe I'm not smart enough to tell you how you did it, but I know you did something like this, which is in a way like very much relatable even to me, because at times we even don't have answers to the like the structure that we are living in, right? But we know that something is wrong, something wrong is happening, and we need to like, fight back, push back. We always don't need to be in this authoritative position, or we don't need to be like all powerful to deal with it. Even as we are, we can like at least try to understand the oppressive structure of religion or the society, the dominance of this patriarchal society, and in our own way try to make sense of it, so that to break free of it. uh, thank you for listening to me, and I would very much like to hear your thoughts about the movie.
Thank you so much, Moparna, for throwing light on significant aspects of the movie, giving attention towards gender, the notion of belief, its power, and how it could control, and bringing distinction between real and unreal. That was really a wonderful presentation. Thank you so much. Now the platform is open for a discussion. The other participants can come in.
May I, Yagnasri?
Yes, madam. Yeah,
Yeah.
please.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Mouparna. I thought you really brought out the various themes in the film really well. You spoke about faith and indoctrination and all of these very well. And for me, what really struck the most was the characterization of Mr. Reed. And of course, you have also spoken about it, because generally in the genre of horror film, um, you have horror coming from a character that is represented as some kind of a monster or an alien or something of that kind. And here you have this very a guy whose house is smelling of blueberry pie, and who's very welcoming to these two women. But at the same time, the atmospherics of the film do borrow from the conventions of horror. For instance, the raging storm outside, and also I thought the use of props in the film. They have so many symbolic meanings. Like you have doors, the shutting and opening of doors. Then you have the basement, and that basement really reminded me of a much older film. I'm sure you're familiar with it, Silence of the Lambs. So, so these are some of the things that struck me as I was watching it, and of course, it is a very it's a layered film. One can really talk a lot about from different angles, like like I was talking about the symbols, and you have spoken eloquently about the themes, characterization. So this is what I would like to say about the film.
Thank you.
Thank you, madam. Anybody else?
Yeah, Yagnasri, if I can come in.
Yes, ma'am. Yeah, yes, ma'am. Yes.
Yeah, so thanks, Moparna. Thanks for helping me make sense of the film. Because initially, while I was watching the film, my initial reaction was not owning to these characters, to these two girls. They seemed like naive and too, people who are just being too nice to him, indulgent towards him. So I thought the way it was going, it would be about women and their naivety and, their blind belief. But the way you put it in this presentation, that it's not so much about somebody forcing or foisting beliefs on you, but about making you question your beliefs. And the horror is about that. I had not seen it. I mean, let's put it this way. I had thought that the first part of the film, where they are being questioned, it looked like they deserved, what they were getting, in the sense of unexamined beliefs, which one generally kind of thinks women kind of are used to taking it upon themselves, whether it is for families or for communities, religion, whatever it is. I thought it was going there. But the way in which it kind of the table is turned, and then you have not so much, the problematic is not so much in terms of the credulity of these women, but it's in terms of them being questioned and made vulnerable, their defenses being worn out. Yeah. But also, so heretic in this second half seems a very narrow definition, not someone who goes against a general religious belief, as much as someone who violates his word. So the word of reed. So that seems to be the way in which the film kind of proceeds for me. And I was wondering, I mean, this architecture of this film, to kind of build, all this, prop Reed up with this set of fantastic arguments, all of which, just seem that he was just playing a game with them. I mean, all this was just something that he was just having fun at their expense, so to speak. And it didn't really matter in the final analysis, because all that he wanted to do was show his power over them and their vulnerability. So yeah, this is the way I kind of read the film. But thanks for kind of taking us to another way in which self-doubt and the lack of self-belief can also be as horrifying as belief and credibility. Yeah, thanks.
Thank you, ma'am. And again, for pointing this out, that yes, it was about control, right? In the end, he wanted them to also understand, not understand, like he was imposing this on them that, yeah, whoever has the control has the real power with them. But again, why I'm talking about this self-doubt, why it felt like that to me, because that's how the patriarchal system also work. No, in a way, like you see the protagonists, they are being chosen as these young teenagers who are being indoctrinated by their church, right? And then suddenly this man comes, and in general also what you would find, this patriarchal system, or the men generally, they get their validation by showing women their place, to be very blunt about it, right? And of course, they always target the women who they find more vulnerable. Even in this movie, kind of saw the same reflection of that society, that yes, these two young girls are there. They do not have much experience about this world. They just grew up in a particular social setting. They believe that social setting, they did not even get a chance to to know about any other perspectives of the world yet. And now this older man who has all the experience in the world, and now he is trying to make them question their beliefs. And as you said in the beginning, as I mentioned that in the very beginning when he was questioning these girls about their religion, that how it had been oppressive, how it had been instrumental for many oppressive historical moments or events. And we believe, yeah, but like as an audience, like when we know about the history, or like we come from like this social science background, we're like, yeah, these questions are quite valid, right? Like he's not making any wrong point though. But then gradually we understand that it's not at all about these points. He just wants to exert power over them, to have that validation, to feel that he is in control, he can do whatever he want to, and he does that. That's what I felt as an audience.
Hi, Mouparna.
Hello.
Hi, I'm Nitish, and I really liked your analysis on the movie. There are just few points which I would also like to add on to, like from what you mentioned. Like you said, he's the only male character in the story, and that is actually pretty evident. I didn't notice it at first before you just mentioned it. That even the people which he has enslaved in the basement were all females.
Yeah.
That is like also shows like he wants to dominate the female characters. And even when they talk about the story where he was this priest in a church who was having multiple affairs, and they want to hide it, so they made this rule that they can have many wives. And am I audible? Sure.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
at a
there is some
at a
issue with
screenplay
your
level, yes, okay. But at a screenplay level, I thought they took too many conventions. Like for the setting part, it reminded me so much of the autopsy of Jandoy and Don't Breathe, where characters are trapped in a house and they have to find their way out throughout the story. And there is something outside going, like they have this heavy storm coming. And the horror, for the best part, other than the environment, I think they use sound also with, like, they have pretty intelligently used sound throughout the movie. Like you mentioned, like when the door closes, it was not just about how they shot it, it was also the sound. Like when the door closes, all sounds get down, so we understand, okay, something eerie is going on. And they set it up also, like I think they also understood the audience, like how they perceive things. Because when we get to know him about, like when he comes out of the door, that my wife is a little shy to come about, I think from there also we understand, like there is something going on and he's a sort of a shady character. But I think I was little disappointed where, when in the first half they talk about making all points and all, but when he make references about like how every story is borrowed from Judaism, it came to Christianity, then it came to Islam, and then he mentioned this same story and then he applies it to Krishna. And like, if I don't know about animal, but I know that he's making it up. Then that's when I realized, no, he's lying straightforwardly. Either I thought like maybe director has made some mistake or something, but till the end we realized that, oh, he was just making this all false points so that he can prove his point in that, like he's the right person. And yes, that's it. And thank you.
Correct. So it's a very valid point. First, you said that yes, all the women that he captivated in his basement were all women. So here you can see the gender power dynamic, that he's only targeting women. And then when you come to this like comparison of different religion, no? So yes, like as people who know Hindu mythology, they will be like, yeah, this is completely wrong. That's not how it happened, what he's saying. But it can be a very much conscious decision by the writers or the directors, that he is speaking anything that he wants to, because for him these two girls, they only know about their own church, right? We know how religion tries to impose their narrations on us that what we are saying is the only fact. And when people truly believe in it, even in today's world, you see how radicalized religion has become, right? It has always been, but now you can see how people are like, no, our religion is the correct one, or this version is the correct one. So even for Mormons, and they were very like, they're teenagers, right? What they were being indoctrinated with, they might not know anything out of it, because they did not even have the chance to do that either. And this man, this much more older man, he knows that, and he uses it to his advantage. And that's why he says whatever comes in his mind. Because if you remember Sister Barnes, she does question that, I do not agree with all of your philosophy. Like, she finds certain problems, like whatever you mentioned, there are certain loopholes. That's not exactly how things might have happened. So there also we see them questioning the the antagonist here. Similarly, as we would like, we should to any religious narration when they are being used to control us, or when they are being imposed on us. That's the message that I would also take from the movie, from Sister Barnes.
I think it was also evident there too when this I forgot the name, the first lady which questions him, he kills them instantly when they reach in the basement. And when he found out that the second lady also has guessed all his plans, he just loses his cool and just like he tries to kill her after that when he got to know that this lady has.
Right. So one thing which I understood, that he never had the intention to like let them go anyway. I hope I'm clear. Sorry, my voice is clear. So he never did. Like all the other women, also we see he has kept them like in the cages, right? So he never was like, Sister Ban also she somewhere points it out that he does not want us to leave anyway. He won't. Right, so we have to do something about it. She only then makes the plan, like when he comes inside, we can attack him. Like when I say this particular word, underwear, I guess. And then he, of course, anticipates it. So from the beginning, it was clear even to the audience that there is no escape from it. This entire basement is a representation of the psychological prison that these women are literally and figuratively at right now.
Hi. May I add to the discussion?
Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely.
please.
Yeah. Hi. I really enjoyed your analysis of the movie, and I have a lot of thoughts in my mind, but like I'll try to be concise. So, I really like enjoyed when you like I really what piqued my interest was when you said that the selection of the genders of the protagonist and the antagonist was very deliberate by the directors, because that brought to my mind movies like Carrie, for instance, which are like, it's a very like old, like it's like the OG
1970.
horrors, yeah, religious horror, wherein like there's an absence of male presence. Like the male presence is very, very little, like it's not felt that much. And like the it's always the female who, the victim is also like the oppressor becomes the oppressed simultaneously. And like you don't like the absence of the male figure sort of is like very easily, it's like it's used to shift the onus onto the the female carriers of patriarchy, which like which within this case, like I feel like when you said that the antagonist being male, and like um the religious authority being in a male persona, really helps reinforce the idea of it being something that like like it is not just like women's issues. It is somebody like who is actually the like there's an organization of these thoughts that is happening outside of the gender that is facing these issues. So Yeah.
Correct. Like, yeah, I recently started watching Carrie. I did not finish it yet, but like I'm halfway through it, and yes, up until now there has been no like visible male character except that principal who was continuously taking her name wrong, right?
Yeah,
So
exactly. So like all the male figures are very powerless in that movie, wherein like the real reason that the mother is facing through so many things, like if you like if I'm giving spoilers, I'm sorry about that. But like in the end, like when we realize that, why the mother is the way she is, like that's not a justification, but like you understand where she's coming from after a point of time. Like like she has gone through the system, she knows what the perils of being like without a man to give a name to your identity, how that existence feels like, which is why like also like again religion in even in Carrie, religion is used as a mean not to empower or not to give a path but to subjugate you and to tell that you have no identity outside of it. So I feel like yeah, a lot of parallels can be drawn, and also like not in a horror genre, but in movies like Glass Onion, like is like so when you said that when people use or like the people in authority just say words and like things that are supposed to sound meaningful but don't actually have meaning until you actually pay attention to them, which is why like we as the people who are the subjects, quote unquote, to use for the lack of a better word at this point, like who are being subjected to all of these things, need to continuously use our critical thinking skills. Because otherwise, like anything that is said to us, if we just absorb it without any critical thinking and without any checks from ourselves, then it just becomes like something that, yeah, exactly. Like we just absorb it without any resistance from our side. But yeah.
correct. Even in this movie, we do see religion as the like instrumental tool for subjugating us and women. So here I found the gender dynamic more vibrant because, as I said, even the characters are very consciously chosen to show us that power dynamics, show us that imbalance that is also pre-existing in the society. And that's what I liked about it. You also said no, like about Glass Onion, that they were saying that people in power sometimes they just say anything they want to, that does not even make sense. And here also Mr. Reeds was doing something quite similar. He was continuously saying one thing after another, and if as an audience, if you have certain backgrounds, you might feel that, oh my, what is he saying? Sometimes it will make sense, sometimes it won't. And for the children, like the teenagers, Sister Paxton and Sister Barnes, they were like, we it was well established in the very beginning that they were naive, they are very new to this, they just wanted to go talk about their religion, see if there is any conversion and get their baptism done, which they are being told by their church, and that's it. But then they get completely entrapped into his world, where he's the one controlling them, just like men are being controlled, men are controlling women in general, or patriarchy in general is controlling us. It's trying to sell us anything in the name of religion. And some people might not question them. And when we question them, we are being termed as heretic, which is also like why the movie is named Heretic. So that's what I found really interesting about this movie, that here they did not actually try to enforce the repeated like same old tactics of like, yeah, there were certain very familiar uh, technical aspects of horror that had been used before, as Geeta also pointed out, like the basement reminded her of the Silence of Lamp, or I think Nitish said something similar, like some certain films he talked about. But at the end of the day, I found this film from a horror or psychological perspective quite unique, because here it's not only scaring us, but it's also making the audience question their own belief system or question themselves at points. Like I would also think, no, oh, he's talking about Christianity like this. Oh, like I think Nikhila also pointed out, no, that at first she thought that maybe these girls deserve this. That's what we were also thinking as an audience. So we are also in a constant, like, back and forth situation or state of mind where we are just questioning ourselves or our beliefs.
Yeah. Uh, yeah. David Rees, would you like to come in?
Uh,
Yeah, please.
hello. Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Um, I agree with the points already made. Something that struck me that I think the discussion is missing. We have, I mean, I see the film as falling into three sections. There's a first section when the man is being very polite, when the women are welcomed into his home and so forth. Then there's the discussion about religion, which I thought was intellectually very compelling and interesting. And if the purpose of that is simply to be a prelude to the third section, which is sort of almost like classic horror, there would have been no need to make points that are so significant. And I was actually enthralled by the debate at that stage, and I was actually disappointed that it then degenerated into people killing each other with knives and so forth. I mean, a comparison, The Reluctant Fundamentalist, I knew it as a book, but I believe that it was made into a film, where there is a protagonist who is always polite and considerate, but there's a constant sense of threat, and you always wonder if the polite protagonist is going to turn out to be a terrorist or whatever, although in that example he never does. And I think I would have found this film more satisfying if the ambiguity had remained. You're always wondering, is this polite Englishman really benevolent and interested in exploring the truth, if there is any, behind these religions, or is he using that as a cover for his evil plans? And I was disappointed that the ambiguity was lost. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your insights.
Yeah. Hi, am I audible?
Yeah,
Yes.
you are.
Yeah. So at least in Hollywood, there has been a pattern in movies that we know where invariably in horror movies, in certain commercial horror movies, where they are invariably very pro-Christianity in the sense that the figure of fear is very unambiguously anti, like it's biblical in that, and they are demonic, and the object of veneration is the church or a religious head, or even with movies like Conjuring or others, they have made this, we have seen them being very anti witchcraft in this manner, like very very conventional in that sense. So what I would like to ask you, do you think that Heretic makes a break from this pattern in all of the ways that you have already mentioned, where it also tries to makes the point of questioning faith, but because at the end of the day the good guys are still like the Mormons, and it's the progressive atheistic figure, which of course the movie does a brilliant job of deconstructing this image of a progressive man, right, and who is rational. So because at the end of the day it's the Mormons who are preaching. It's of course they do question Mormonism in their own right, but it's ultimately sort of the antagonist of the movie is an atheistic figure, and he is heretic in the conventional sense. So would you think that it falls into that same pattern? Yeah.
That's quite an interesting question. So you started with how the Hollywood movies in general, the horror movies, they're majorly based on this like Christianity and some demonic figure, like when it comes to like, the conventional horror stories that we are acquainted of watching. But here, yes, it was a break from that. And here, yes, of course, your point is right that this man who was quite rational, who was an atheist, who would question religion, is the one who has been made this antagonist. And these girls, these missionaries who were Mormons and like who were quite indoctrinated in their own way by their own religion, were the ones who were seen in the position of being a victim, right? But I also see it in a way of gender dynamics. I don't just seem like you said, no, it in the movie in itself did a very good job in deconstructing how an atheist can be. But at the end of the day, we also see that he belongs to this patriarchal structure, which does give men the power, no matter if they are an atheist or not, they still are in the position of power. They like it is one of the pros of uh, patriarchy that works in their favor. And the women, again, no matter whether or not they're religious, they would be subjugated, they would always be seen less than men. And here we see the same dynamics in the movie. So in the end, I see it as a win of a very naive girl, you can say, like who still managed to fight through all of it, still managed, like even at the verge of like questioning her belief, or the entire structure was crumbling around her, whatever she grew up in. And yet at the end, somehow she managed to escape from the grasp of this uh, very much powerful gender dynamics. That's what how I saw it. You can, of course, give your own, like,
Yeah, as Asmita said, if we remove this gender dimension, I think what she has said is true, because the way it is presenting an atheist as a kind of antagonist, I mean, his rational questions before, the kind of way he starts treating those girls, what the questions that he raises are very fundamental, and they're very important to reflect on. And I think what Asmita has come up, it's true. If we keep this gender aspect away, I think that is how it has been projected here.
correct. In a way, she's quite right about it. That if and what even you are saying, that if we remove the gendered aspects, then in that way, yes. Uh,
Yeah.
a lot of you said that when they were he was first talking about those philosophical questions, he was raising those questions, talking about how the religions have, like, borrowed from each other. It's just an older version or a newer version, like a game and so on. These are very fundamental, very, like, uh, sane questions that any atheist would ask. But at the same time, we do see him lie as well, like the example of Krishna, or like saying whatever he wanted to just to make a point. That was also there. So it also, like, simultaneously, it also shows us that with those fundamental questions that he was asking, like they were very much, like, important questions when you, like, want to question anyone's belief, like why do you believe in this as an atheist. But at the same time, we also see that he was exerting his power. We cannot negate that part from it.
Yeah, true.
Can
And
I
it
come
also
in?
reminded me,
Sorry.
yeah, yeah, ma'am.
Yes,
Please,
Geeta, you can
sorry to
continue. I
interrupt.
will.
Please,
No, ma'am, please go on.
should I come in?
No, no,
Yeah,
you can
madam.
continue. I'll just speak after you.
Okay, okay. Ashmita, what you raised an interesting point, and here what is significant is the fact that these two nuns are from the Mormon faith, and Mormons and Christians have traditionally, had this conflict over the idea of Jesus, because the Mormons, they don't accept this, Father, Son, Holy Spirit, that Trinity, that doctrine of the Trinity is not something that they accept. So, in a sense, they are, kind of more tolerant of other faiths than Orthodox Christianity would be. So, I thought it was also interesting that this film is about, not Christianity, as like as you have said, most Hollywood films uphold Christianity, but it is about, Mormons and how their faith crumbles in this narrative. I think also should have some significance with regard to relationship with Christianity in conventional horror films.
Thank you, ma'am.
Hi.
Hi.
Yeah, please.
So I just wanted to add on to what the question was asked earlier. I think like the movies like
Yeah, please go
Conjuring and
ahead.
what they have promoted, I think yes. What I wanted to add on to that, the question which was asked earlier, like the Conjuring movies and what they have promoted, like we have seen these kind of movies in the past. I think this movie also somehow goes into that direction only because
Nitish,
if you would see,
please.
yes, hi, am I not audible?
There must be some
I
issue with
think,
your audio.
yes.
Am I audible now?
Maybe
Nitish,
you
you are
could,
not audible.
Hello, hello.
maybe someone else could come in.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hi, I have a few questions.
Yeah, please go ahead,
Yeah,
please.
so I have questions regarding the plot and the use of the symbolic devices in the movie, like the water leaking of the water. What was it about? Like all that water devices that we saw, that bamboo thing going on. Is it like a symbolic of his the leaking narrative in his argument? And also we see those locks that he that puts off the electricity in his house. What was the point of showing these things if you are not going to use it in the end? Like we could have just believed that it was a magic lock and it wouldn't open again, right? And then what was the use of that priest coming and knocking at the door? If it was, it just a red herring? Like what was the point of it? Like those are my questions.
Okay, starting from the leaking water and the the pipes. I did not see it in a way which you were telling, like leaking in the narrative. Yes, that's a good observation. I just added it to how it is making the situation or the environment more tensed at that point, more unsettling. Now, coming to the lock thing, the log part, I think it was being shown just to show us, the audience, that yes, there is a way to escape. He can let them go if he wants to, but he does not want to, and that's why he tells the woman, that the girls, that there is no escape and it will only open in the morning, and by then you have to figure out what you want to believe or what you don't want to believe. So it was one of the other ways of showing that he's the one in control. He can let them go, but he's choosing not to. Now, coming to the priest part, again, they are reinforcing the idea that there is no way, he won't let them go. As I was saying in the beginning, like not in the beginning, someone asked this, that like from the very beginning, it is quite clear that he has no intentions of letting them go, because he has the power to do so, and he would completely exert his power to be in control, to play. Like it became a game for him. He was the one, he was the, dungeon master here, and he was controlling all the pieces, the narratives, everything. I think those were the points of those scenes, according to me.
Yeah,
Hi.
and
Am I audible now?
okay.
I'm sorry,
Yeah,
Shubho, you
yeah,
can
you
continue.
are.
Sorry.
Yeah, and two things which I've noticed while watching, and the casting of Hugh Grant reminded me of Jimmy Stewart from Rear Window, where they, it's like the subversion of the good guy. And when I saw the two doors, like the belief and the disbelief door, and I sort of, I knew that it's going to end up in the same dungeon, because
Yeah.
we've seen so many movies before, and it kind of reminded me, not, I think someone referred to Silence of the Lambs, but it didn't remind me of Silence of the Lambs, but it reminded me of a Woody Allen film. It's called Stardust Memories, where in the first scene, he shows there are two trains, and in one compartment there's like all the rich people, all the successful people, and all the champions are sitting over there. They're very smiling, they're very happy. And another train, there are all the losers over there, like people who have not achieved much in life, and they're very grumpy and gloomy and everything. And this man, Woody Allen, he gets on the gloomy train, and he sees out of that window, and he sees all the rich people from the other train. They're just looking down upon them. And then the train starts moving, and in the end, the two trains, they reach the same destination. It's a huge dump yard, and where, like, it's the same fate that both class of people, they get. Like, ultimately, you die, and that's it. That's your reality.
I haven't seen that movie, so I can't say much about it. Mm.
Anybody else who would like to come in?
Hi. Am I audible now? I'm so sorry. There was some network issue.
Yeah, please go on. Yeah.
So I wanted to add on to the question as an answer, like what was asked earlier about like Conjuring movies, like if this movie promotes the same idea of Christianity what they have been promoting. So what I heard, and like I believe also, like this movie also goes into the same direction, because in the end he asks the lady to prayer, and when she prayers, and when he just was going to kill her, her friend suddenly wakes up and kills her. So this movie also showed us like how heretics, like non-believers, try to prove their point by saying anything. Like we have discussed it in the earlier, and so I think this movie goes into the same direction. Like non-believers are like not true people, and they just made up facts. And in the movie like celebrates sort of his ending after he's killed. So I think movie promotes that same idea, like we have been seeing in The Conjuring or like other movies, which like shows Christianity in that light.
Mhm.
Can I say something else? So I think that the setting, like not the setting, but rather setting the movie itself, like movie as a piece of art in 2024, which is post Donald Trump's second coming, is also a very interesting choice, because like I feel like everything that has happened since has sort of set the stage for this movie. I feel like yeah, like the idea of gender, religion, questioning authority, all of these things, and like like things that are said to sort of create the us them, but in a way that the us is very the us itself is very fragmented, so it's very difficult to have a solid, like, an in group as well. So I think, yeah, that's just a very interesting fact, like just an interesting thing in my mind, that this movie would come out now. So yeah.
Yeah, that's quite interesting. I did not think of it in that way. Thanks for like letting me think of it.
Yes. Anybody else?
Yeah, I have a little doubt regarding this Paxton. In the beginning, she says that she would like to die and reborn as butterfly.
Yeah.
And yeah, and then what happens towards the end of the film, that Barnes dies. It's not Paxton who dies. Barnes dies, and Paxton is still alive. She's the one who comes out of the building, and then a butterfly comes to sit on her finger. So how does it happen? It is Paxton who is supposed to die and be reborn as butterfly rather than Barnes.
Yes, sir. I also got the same doubt.
That's open to interpretation. Maybe like, of course, it was a loss for her, right? Losing her friend. And it can be a symbolism of that comfort that finally she has escaped this prison and now she's free of that control or whatever. And thinking that maybe her friend would come back as the same as she was thinking, because she has come out of that prison, but that does not mean she has also broken through the pit, like religious indoctrination. So in a way, she still might believe that her friend might come back the same way and comfort her. Maybe.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. Anybody else? Tarkeshwar, sir?
Hello.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, the discussion is quite interesting. But I think there are also at the end, there are dialogues like, even if it is not true, there is no harm in praying. That means a certain kind of indoctrination is fine, no problem. It is harmless. I think that kind of message seems to be there at the end. So you can read it as there is one to look at the way narrative gets terminated at what point, and then ascribe certain theme and interpretation to it. And other ways too, you can choose as readers, viewers, we can choose various elements in it and then construct our own narrative. But I don't think the narrative itself is promoting any anti-indoctrination thing. Or you don't have to be critical about these doctrines too. Let people believe whatever they want to do, whatever they want to believe, even if it is not true. And then the character of the other sister who dies is also quite interesting. She is firm in her belief and she wants to choose the door. And even if she is going to die, she has no problem. In fact, the Paxter is more clever and more slippery in the sense that she can come out with lies easily and then try to escape and things like that. But the other girl is more gritty and she wants to stand the ground, and she walks into the trap. So it's a kind of sacrifice uh, that she's doing. Uh, Even at the end, it becomes like that. Uh, she sacrifices herself and then kills uh, the man completely, and then she lives her life. So she is more convinced about her convictions, whether it's true or not. I will do this. That kind of adamant she was. Well, this girl is more slippery, and then she could uh, argue in both ways, and she knew certain things, but she didn't reveal. At the end, she engages with him in that sense. I knew this. You have done this. This was happening. I could guess uh, that you had gone in this storm and come back. So in that sense, uh, these two characters are quite different. You can't simply club them and then and also say that they're women. So in that sense, the narrative is much more complex, uh, and the way the narrative gets terminated, uh, I think it is not interrogating any religion or religious doctrine, indoctrination, or any religious doctrine too. So in that sense, but you are free to make your own meaning out of it and then hold on to it. This is what I would like to say. Thank you.
Yeah, yes, sir. She keeps herself open for anything and everything. Yeah, switching from one to other. Yes, true, that's true. Anybody else?
Hello.
Yeah.
Good evening. Mouparna, I truly enjoyed your presentation and also enjoying the discussion. I, um, being a Catholic, brought up a Catholic, we have witnessed or heard many Jehovah's Witnesses, and they unlike the Catholic belief in Kerala and Karnataka where I was brought up, they go to houses and so there was a time when people actually used to say, "Do not open your houses to Jehovah's Witnesses" and all that. So when these two girls and the we have also heard about the Church of Latter Saints and Mormonism and everything. So of course, although not intentionally, but of course you kind of do not wish good for these women in the beginning, because we find them naive, like already Nikita ma'am mentioned. And you find their faith also problematic in not because it is Mormonism, it is because faith itself is problematic. And somehow, like Ashmita already pointed out, we wonder whether the purpose of the movie was to question faith or to say that their faith ultimately saved them. So there is something called the dark night of the soul, which was a term used by Mother Teresa, and she used to say that every believer goes through this period of despair where they question their faith, and ultimately it sounded like a or the temptation Jesus faced, where their faith or belief is questioned, and in the end, her overcoming this horrible person and coming out of this house itself. This is my question to Muparna and everyone else. Do you think she came out a heretic or do you think she came out a believer?
I think she came out a heretic. I would like to hear like what others think about it. That's a very interesting question. Like, yeah, how do we interpret it in the end?
Can I come in?
Yes.
Please, ma'am. Yeah.
Yeah. I think that, the ending scene, that symbolism of the butterfly is very significant here. It is the butterfly that comes and sits on the tip of her finger. So while watching it, I read it as, fragility, because a butterfly is a very fragile insect, right? So everything is fragile, faith and even indoctrination, for that matter. To what extent can one be indoctrinated? To what extent can one hold on to faith? And even manipulation, to what extent can one manipulate the other? All of these are very fragile. So I thought that that is what is probably, being conveyed, the fragility of everything that we hold on to very strongly, sometimes very dogmatically.
Yeah. Thank you, madam. Anybody else?
I think in that respect, because Geeta is talking about fragility. One of the things, because I initially I did watch the movie with Moparna, and we were discussing how it brings to the forefront this idea of the seemingly weaker woman and the sort of at ease with your alleged weakness, instead of, we are used to seeing even when we see a very strong, quote unquote strong female lead in a movie, we are used to expecting them to be being much more outspoken, more rational, like but in this case, there's one of the dialogues in the movie where she ends up telling Mr. Reed that I know that you are wrong, but I'm sorry, I am not smart enough to explain to you why you are wrong, but I know that, right? And in a way, the movie tries to, I believe, make a case that you can be at ease with your uncertainty, your vulnerability, and your weakness, and not be this figure of a completely sure of yourself and a very, very confident person, a confident woman to be taken seriously, right? And in that way, I would feel that it does uh, not glorified, try to make a case of being at ease with your fragility. Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. Can I come in, Yagnasri? Sorry.
Please, ma'am.
Yeah. So, no, when Sanjay asked the question, it reminded me that the film also, refers to this dreamer, this Chinese dreamer who goes to sleep and then wakes up. I mean, dreams of himself as a butterfly, and then when he's awake, he's not sure whether he has dreamt of being a butterfly or the butterfly is dreaming that it has turned to him. So I think it also ties with the point that Tarkeshwar was making of the how the two girls have slightly contrasting personalities. So if anything, we would have expected the unraveling to happen, not so much through Barnes, but through Paxton. But it is Barnes who kind of escapes. So, is there a metamorphosis as well that has happened? Like the butterfly, dreaming of being reborn. Who is dreaming of being reborn, and how that has happened? It seems to be a play on that. I mean, the a story of the Chinese philosopher, which comes in the end. I mean, this is my reading just after listening to Sanjay's question. I don't know how. I don't know how else to see it. Thanks.
That's a very good explanation. Bravo. Thank you.
Anybody else who wants to come in? If no one is there, shall we wind it up, ma'am?
Yeah, sure. If there are
Yeah.
no responses, yeah.
Anybody else would like to come in? Yeah. Okay, then. Thank you, Mouparna, for suggesting this movie and initiating the discussion and taking our attention towards the aspects which we actually missed while watching the movie. I also thank all the participants for enriching the discussion with their contributions. I also thank Nicola ma'am and Geeta madam for giving me this opportunity. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am, for giving me the opportunity to discuss about this movie.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mouparna. Thank
Thank
you.
you very much. Good
Thank
night.
you.
Good night.
Thank you, Yagnasri.